So it's important to be able to know how to milk your mare, because you might find yourself in a scenario where you need to be able to collect a sample to determine some things. So right now we have a mare who just had a foal less than a week ago, but let's pretend that she hasn't foaled yet. We can actually use a milk sample to help us determine when her foaling might be coming. We also might want to test the milk for colostrum. So again, maybe let's say this mare just foaled, and we want to make sure that that colostrum is a high enough quality for the foal, and so testing that to determine that, we'll have to collect a sample from the udder as well. And then finally, if we just have a foal that's not suckling, we're going to have to go ahead and collect that milk and be able to provide it to the foal in a different form so that he is getting adequate nutrition. If the mare, say, refuses to let him suckle, or maybe the foal's too weak, we're going to have to be able to milk the mare, because it is the greatest resource in terms of providing nutrition for that foal. So it's really important when we do this process that we're keeping a mindset of safety, okay? This mare is really gentle, and we know her well, but we don't ever want to take that for granted. So as I prepare to collect a sample from her udder, I'm going to start up here at her shoulder and then just start working my way down towards the area that I want to be working from. So I'm going to let her know that I'm coming in here. We do have her in a set of stocks, which is going to help kind of with some of the restraint and keep us a little bit safer. I'm also going to come in here and just gently work my way down her flank before I come in here and touch her udder. Now, before we start collecting any kind of sample from the mare, we want to go ahead and wash the udder with just warm water and mild soap. So something like Ivory is suitable for that. Just make sure that you get all of the soap residue rinsed off before collecting a sample. When you come in here then, depending on, again, if you're collecting before the mare's foaling or after the mare's foaling, you might find that her bag size is bigger or smaller. This mare has just been suckled on not too long ago. Her foal's right here beside her, so it looks a little bit smaller, not as distended. And you simply want to use a clean container, and I like the plastic Pyrex because they're light and they got a handle and it's easy to manage underneath the mare. Something this mare is not going to appreciate about me, but you might consider, is that you want your hands to be fairly warm. Mine are a little chilly, but she's going to tolerate it. So I'm going to come in here and just work closely towards her udder. And what I want to do is, there's two mammary glands, one on each side, that goes down through the teat. And I want to just start at the top of that and then work my way down. So I'm going to start up here with just a firm pressure and then pressure all the way down. Now this side's pretty empty because, again, the foal just suckled, but I can demonstrate on the other side getting some milk as part of this process. So you're going to just continue to start at the top with pressure, move down the mammary gland, come back up to the top, push down, kind of like you're squeezing toothpaste out of a tube. In the same way, you're going to be squeezing that milk out. Start at the top, bring pressure downwards. So that's just an example of hand milking. You have some other options for you if you're not comfortable with hand milking or aren't tremendously successful. You can take a 60 ml syringe and cut off the top where your catheter tip is, and then take your plunger and turn it around. And now you have a nice apparatus to actually draw the milk out of the teat. So you'd go ahead and put the teat into the top here, get it nice and snug, get a firm seal around that, and then go ahead and draw back, bringing the milk out with that. And then finally, they make some commercial collection apparatuses that allow you to put the mare's teats right in the top here. And these typically come with different sizes, so if you've got a mare that's got a smaller or larger teat, you can adjust accordingly, because again, you want a pretty good seal to help bring that milk down. And then basically you just pump and it brings the milk down into your collection container. So you can go real simple by just using your hand collecting milk, and you can get real fancy with the tools that are available commercially as well. Colostrum quality is something that we might be interested in evaluating in our mare to make sure that that foal is receiving the passive transfer of antibodies. And so we have some ways that we can do that. A couple methods, one being that we can do it on farm, and another method being that we send it off on the laboratory. In talking about the assay that's used for the laboratory, unfortunately the results usually take about 24 hours to determine if that colostrum has a high enough IgG content or antibody content. And as we know or have learned earlier, we need that foal to ingest that colostrum by the 24-hour mark. And so really that laboratory testing even by the time we get the results, we've passed that window and able for that foal to ingest the colostrum. So it's not very practical. But we do have an on-farm test, the refractometer, that allows us to evaluate that colostrum quality rather quickly. So by doing that, we are looking at the optical density of the sample itself of colostrum. And that is highly correlated to then the IgG content of the colostrum and gives us an indication of the quality. So taking our milk sample, and mind you, this isn't actual colostrum, this is just milk that we've collected, but in your case, you would be using that first milk that's collected when the mare produces it right at the beginning. You're going to put 2 drops right here on the prism, and then you're going to go ahead and shut it, and it's going to disperse it across the plate for you to then see the visual reading for it. So once you've done that, then you're going to actually put it up to a light source, and you're going to look through here, and it's going to give you an indication of that colostrum sample and whether or not the quality is poor, fair, good, or very good, again, based off of reading the optical density. This is one way then that we can evaluate that colostrum on farm very quickly and know whether or not that colostrum the foal is ingested is indeed going to be able to provide that immunity protection that we're seeking.